Good morning, everyone. We'll just get started in a couple minutes. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let me turn on my video first. That would help. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Campus Guard's first in a series of payment advisory services developing a strategy webinars. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to virtually meet with us. Today, Ruth Harpool will be discussing the increasingly popular Cashless Campus. We also have Andy Grant on the line as our Director of National Business Development for Campus Guard. Today's webinar will be recorded so others can watch it afterwards, or you can watch it again because it's going to be a good one. Ruth, if you could move it to the next slide, please. About Ruth, we are so excited to have brought on Ruth as Payment Advisor for Campus Guard. Here, she provides consulting in the areas of treasury operations, payments, and payments risk management to our clients. Ruth has over 30 years of experience in banking services, banking operations, not-for-profit treasury cash management, and payments management operational leadership. She leverages her insight, expertise, and hands-on knowledge to help Campus Guard clients discover hard and soft cost savings, increase revenue, and reduce risk while focusing on compliance and security. Before Campus Guard, Ruth owned her own company called Harpool Consulting, and before that, she was the Managing Director of Treasury Operations at Indiana University. There, she had university-wide responsibility for all banking processes, financial vendor relationships, cash management processes, and payment card industry data security standard compliance. That is a lot to say. And with that, I will turn it over to Ruth.
Thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate the introduction and the time today. Maybe the first thing we should do, this is the first opportunity I've had in a while to be in front of some of my friends and colleagues from higher education. So much like Beetlejuice, if we all say COVID, COVID, COVID really quick, maybe it'll go away. And I can't hear you, but I'm just gonna make like we all did that, right? I'm really excited to be at Campus Guard and to work in payment advisory services for Campus Guard. On your screen here, you can see some of the services that we provide. We'll certainly do payment assessments for you from all across the campus and all of your campuses as to how you take payments, what payments you take, where they're coming in, help you estimate what those costs are, or actually nail down some figures. We'll help you with RFPs, whether that's writing RFPs or helping implement them or evaluating vendors as you look through them in your RFP processes. We're about giving unbiased payment consultation on processes and payment technology. Unbiased. We're not selling you payment services. at Campus Guard, we're helping you understand what's out there and what might work best for your campus. Certainly, I have experience in treasury and payment project management as well. Account analysis is something that I grew up in banking, and can look at account analysis statements and help you with all kinds of things. So if you need help looking at your analysis statements from your financial institutions to know what you're getting, what you're paying for that you're not getting, any of those things, and then policy and procedure development and a lot of other things. What do you need? That's where we can help. Come talk to us. Today, though, we're here to talk about the cashless revolution and a strategy that can help your campus move to either a cashless environment or a less cash environment. So here's the agenda of the things that we're going to go through today. And it's really the first topic is the cashless revolution. And then we're going to talk about developing a strategy. And then items 3 through 9 on the list here, or 3 through 8, I guess, are really the parts of developing a strategy. And I'll weave into these discussions about how we develop a strategy. We'll weave into them some discussions about cashless or less cash operations and what that might look like and some things you should look for at your university. So I'll tell you right now, I can see my screen without my glasses, but when I look down to see my notes, I need my glasses, so bear with me, make sure that I cover all the points that I want to share with you. So first, let's talk about who has joined the cashless revolution. Let me tell you, the cashless revolution didn't start when COVID came. It started before. What happened in the past year and a half in the world has accelerated our use as consumers of electronic payment solutions. Some of the major league sports that you see here on your screen today were already exploring, and a small handful of them had already gone to cashless environments prior to COVID coming to the blow up status that it did. The National Football League, for example, the 2021 Super Bowl was cashless. None of us were at the Super Bowl that year. We had to watch it all on TV. So it probably wasn't too big of a deal that it went cashless for the small handful of individuals that were able to attend the game, but it was cashless. There are, I think, 26 of 30 Major League Baseball stadiums that are cashless now. They're using machines. They have machines like what I have pictured on the screen here. I actually took a picture of this machine recently. I had an opportunity to go to Tampa and enjoy some sunshine, and I found this machine in the Tampa airport. It's a convert cash to card machine. It's really fast too. Slip in $10 and it kicks you out a card. It's a Visa and or MasterCard branded card, and I could use it anywhere. I could use it in the airport. I could use it to pay my Uber ride. I could use it any place else I wanted to use it. So it wasn't restricted. And neither are the cash to card machines that you find in these major league sports stadiums either. So give you an idea of what's going on there. These are all over the place. And it's not just major league sports that have picked up on these types of machines and the ability to go cashless. One of the things to remember when you think about accepting less cash or going cashless on your campus or your university, your sporting arenas or events arenas or any place around where you do business is what alternative payment solutions are you going to provide to your customers? Because providing alternatives is important. What's most important with a customer experience is their experience. There's a lot of universities that have already decided to go cashless. I'm not listing any university names here, but what you're seeing on this screen and the next two to follow are headlines that I have taken and information that I have screen print off of websites from universities across the country, from coast to coast, that have moved to, that have joined the cashless revolution for one reason or another, and have decided to stop accepting cash in certain areas. So some of the headlines here: all parking will be cashless this year. Passes will be on fans' mobile devices. Even on the Major League Sports stadiums, some of the baseball teams, not only have they gone cashless, but they've gone completely mobile for consumers to be able to order their food. You don't even have to leave your seat. You can order it on your tablet, on your phone. You pay for it on your phone, and someone from the concession area delivers it to you. I mean, you don't even have to go anywhere. Forget digging into your wallet to get out a cash or even a card anymore. Everything's gone mobile. I think we're seeing some of those same changes occurring on our university campuses. Much like Major League Sports has adopted many of these cashless solutions, we're seeing some of the early adoption of the cashless revolution occurring in our sporting arenas at our campuses. You can see here that stadiums, this particular university, they've advertised it, that stadium will also be cashless. And advertising and marketing is very important, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But making sure that your fans know what to expect before they arrive is all part of making sure that they have an incredible customer experience. And turning the page, here's another page of headlines. New machines make cashless transactions simpler for students in the community. These are some of these cash to card machines that I've shown you, but it's also where universities have worked with their service providers that provide their campus cards, where they're able to encourage increased use of their campus cards for both student, faculty, staff, and non-student visitors to the campus that can now use a portion of their campus card solution in order to make purchases in the campus closed loop environment. Who better to help move us as a society to a cashless or a less cash operation than our college students? These individuals have grown up with technology. It wasn't introduced to them when they were 6 and 7 years old. They grew up with it. I don't know how many of them were handed smartphones at birth, but I think some of them were. And they're so adept at using it. It is their first path. If they want to look something up, this is where they go. I used to go to the library and dig through the stacks in the library for articles. Now they jump online. If they want to check their banking, they go online. They don't go down to the local bank branch to see what's going on. And very few of them go to ATM machines anymore either, especially they're not withdrawing cash unless they need it, and they're not checking their balances there. They are very technologically driven, and they seek that as their first path to do any type of transaction, including cross the street. I don't know how many of them now still need a phone in order to cross the street. So we'll just put that out there for everyone to make note of. Be careful as you drive around your campuses. Cashless payments are now being encouraged on campuses. And in many cases, some universities have also decided to move their cashiering offices, their tuition payments, and their other student services to cashless environments. So this is not a novel thing anymore. This has now become a trend. So I was curious with the number of universities that are thinking about it, that have already started to move to cashless, or those that have already completely taken the leap and gone fully cashless at their campuses. I was curious what the students' take on it was. What did they think about it? So I spent quite a bit of time online in student newspapers looking for articles to the editor, just articles that are letters to the editor, articles that were written in student newspapers to see if I could find any feedback from students about these cashless campus initiatives. And surprisingly, I found nothing. No good, no bad. And I think that means all good, right? If you hear nothing bad, it must be good. There were no letters. No students were complaining about it. No one took the time to write articles. What I did see in student newspapers were cashiering offices, bursar offices, student service offices, and athletic departments advertising that they would have a cashless initiative on campus, that student cashless information was available, that the campus was going cashless. So they made great strides in making sure that they told the constituents of the campus what was going to happen before it happened. And I think the universities that have had tremendous success in the early stages of moving to a less cash or a cashless environment have seen the success because of their marketing efforts. All right, so one of the first arguments that we hear about cashless when anybody talks about going cashless is that we have to accept cash, right? I mean, it's a law. The US money says it's legal tender for all debts, public and private, so we have to take it, right? Well, do you really? Well, it depends on the laws and the state and the city where you operate. And for the record, because it's Campus Guard, I had to put "it depends" in the slide here, just to make sure that we're staying in focus with what actually what it depends on is where you are and how you're doing business and what the rules of the state and the city that you live in say. So let me give you an example. Let me skip back here. Let me give you an example. Let me check my notes, lost my glasses. Let me check my notes here. In the state of New York has not passed a law that requires the acceptance of cash, but the city of New York has. However, the New York Yankee baseball stadium does not accept cash. So there are exceptions to every law. The states that have laws that I'm aware of today that prohibit the banning of the acceptance of cash or ban the prohibition of the acceptance of cash, however you want to look at it, are New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Interestingly enough, Massachusetts has been, this law has been in place with them since 1978. So if you are in Massachusetts and you want to buy something, every place in Massachusetts should accept cash from you. Some cities have banned the prohibition of the acceptance of cash, so making it legal, making it required, I should say, that all businesses must accept cash. Those cities are San Francisco, Philadelphia, New York City, and I believe Washington, D.C. has also just recently passed that. I'm not sure if that was signed into law or not, but they were seriously talking about it. The city, the state of Colorado, specifically the city of Denver, is also looking at some specific cash laws, but that has not been signed by the governor at the last time I checked. But again, if you look at the major league sports arenas in those cities, San Francisco, Philadelphia, New York, and Washington, every one of the major league teams there that have stadiums do not accept cash. So again, there are exceptions to the rule. There is no federal law that says you have to accept cash. There is no federal statute mandating that a private business or person must accept currency or coins as a payment for goods or services. So that argument is out the window. It all depends on your local ordinances or your city or the state. All right. We talk about developing a strategy for a cashless initiative. Strategies are important no matter what project you're working on. To have a good strategy helps put the vision for the project. It helps you recognize what your goals are because you've written them down. It helps you identify the actions you need to take to achieve those goals. It also gives you the ability to gather data to see what is actually going on your campuses and around your campuses. Because when it comes to cash, it's not just what happens on your campus, it's what's happening around you and what the consumers are expecting as well. So again, we know students don't tend to carry a lot of cash and don't tend to want to use cash. They would rather use mobile devices or cards. Frankly, they'd rather use mobile devices, and they're more than happy to use their campus cards when given the opportunity. So when we talk about developing a strategy, we're going to talk about these 6 items here. Can you be cashless? Well, before we get there, let's talk about what your goals could be, what it means to gather data, what it means to analyze the data that you have received and to look at the solutions that you have in place today, how you identify certain options, other payment options that may be available, what might be valuable to use, what might be valuable to move away from. How do you implement some of these strategies and some of these solutions? And then on an ongoing basis, how do you should you monitor what's going on, whether it's successful or not, and how might you do that? So the very first part of developing a strategy from the world that I've grown up in has been to develop a goal. And the goal should be SMART goals. This is something I've latched onto a number of years ago to help me put some realistic goals in place. And so a SMART goal is a goal that is specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time bound. So if you say your goal is to be, our campus will be cashless at some point in the future, that's not a strong goal. You're not very specific. You know you want to be cashless, but where? Is it everywhere? And how do you do it? How do you measure whether you're being successful or not? Is that a realistic goal? And what was that time frame? So at some point in the future, find a goal that you're going to latch onto, and then establish these SMART parameters around it. Remember, plan means planning to fail. We don't have the time, the resources, or the energy right now to continue throwing work and people and money at something if we don't have a set goal in mind that doesn't meet these SMART goal attributes. Okay. All right, set the goal. Is your goal less cash or is it cash less? Well, it matters. I've got pictures of 2 elephants on here. These 2 elephants live in my house. I don't have to feed them, fortunately. I don't know that I could afford that. These 2 elephants live in my house, and I've got a couple other elephants around. And it's strange for a person to collect elephants, but let me tell you why I have these. When I work on projects or goals, or there's something that's changing in my life, I have to continue to remind myself to take small bites and chew thoroughly. So the old saying with an elephant is, the question is, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is 1 bite at a time. And I add on to that by saying, small bites, chew thoroughly. So I have the elephant sitting near me when I work, because sometimes I get overwhelmed by the amount of work that's necessary to achieve a certain goal that I've set. And if I step back a little bit, take a deep breath, smile at my elephant, and I recognize this reminder comes to me that I need to go back to my original goals, see what my action steps were, and do 1 step at a time, and get that 1 step done completely first, and then move on to the next one. It's more of a measured approach to achieving a goal than to a deep dive into the deep end. Okay. So setting the goal. So first thing when it comes to the strategy then is setting the goal. You have to decide, do you want it less cash? If you want less cash on your campuses, but you're not eliminating it altogether, then where do you go? What do you need? Where do you need to look? And how do you need to reduce cash? Where are the places that cash can hide? If you're going to eliminate cash in some areas, well, which areas are they? And if you're going to encourage the use of other payment forms, which you should do, when you remove something, you should replace it with something better, something shiny, something more exciting to use, something that the consumers want, something that will better their customer experience. What types of payment forms could you replace cash with? So when we talk about where you can reduce cash, let me challenge you to look in areas that you maybe wouldn't normally start. I think some of the areas where we like to start is where we think we have large volumes. Those bursar windows, the cashier office windows, bookstores, if you still own your own and operate bookstores, you may see lots of cash there. Certainly dining courts, food courts. A lot of universities now have their own food trucks. How about parking garages? You see a lot of cash in these areas. Well, what about lockers that you drop a quarter into so that you can use the locker? What about washers and dryers that are still taking, I don't even know what I have my own washer and dryer at home. Now, I don't even know what it takes to do washing and drying of clothes anymore. $1.50. When I was in school, we had to drop a 4 quarters into thing on the machine, push it in, right? What about vending machines? A number of schools do have vending machines across their campuses. They're likely outsourced from the management perspective of them. So it's a third party that's using them. But do they still accept cash in those machines, or do they have a cashless option? I said parking garages. Parking garages might still see cash today, but I can guarantee you're seeing cash in parking meters. Are you cashing checks? Do you still have dorm center desks or housing center desks or cashier offices that are cashing checks for students, for faculty, and for staff? So when you think about reducing cash, think about not just where it's coming in, but also where it's going out. So when I talk about cashing checks, you have to keep a supply of cash in order to cash a check. If you can eliminate that and you encourage the individual that was cashing the check to use a different method to obtain the funds that they want to make a purchase, just use your card or use your mobile device to make a payment. You're then in small bites eliminating and reducing where cash is accepted and how and the velocity of it moving around campus. Do you still have ATMs on campus? If you have a cashless initiative or even a less cash initiative on your campus, and you still have ATMs scattered around your campus provided by third-party financial institutions, are you hurting your goal or are you helping your goal by making cash available? We talk about setting the goal of cashless. The things here are the same somewhat. Where is all your cash being accepted and how do you eliminate it? And when do you eliminate it? Timing is everything. What do you do to remove those cash supplies? What am I talking about when I say cash supplies? I'm talking about the ATMs that are around. Do you find yourself providing cash services for non-university businesses? If you look closely, I think you might find this. I'll give you an example. A school I know that I've worked with in the past had a building, a student center where all the students would come to, and they had various services within this building. One of the services in the building was a UPS office where students could ship things, right? Just like every other UPS office. Next to that office, there was a financial institution, and that same building housed a hotel for the university. When the UPS office needed $1 bills so they could make change when people paid for their shipping, instead of going to the financial institution, which they used to do, they decided to start going to the hotel and taking 2 $20 bills or 5 $20 bills, taking it over to the hotel and having the hotel give them $1 bills in exchange. The hotel didn't charge them anything. The university thought that that was a valuable service to provide to another business that was on campus, because at the end of the day, everyone was still serving the students. And so it was about helping the students and making sure that they had a better experience when they entered that entire building. Why didn't UPS go to the financial institution anymore? Because the financial institution said to them, you don't bank with us. We're not going to provide you this cash exchange service for free. And UPS said, okay, that's fine. I'll go to the university and do it. And the hotel staff was happy to make that exchange for them. So the hotel staff on a weekly basis was ordering additional $1 bills to keep in supply so that it could provide that service for free to UPS. Where does cash hide on your campus? Sometimes it's hiding in places that you know that you can find because it's a service that you're providing to your students. But sometimes you're providing services to other businesses on campus that you may not know about because they're hidden within the operations of the day-to-day functions. And then let's talk about the encouragement of other payment forms. Where should you put other payment forms? Well, which ones should you use? How should you deploy them? How should you market and advertise that? And when should you get it done? It, you know, should you change your cash processes during fall break while everyone's gone and they come back to campus and find out that they can't use cash anymore? Probably not the right timing, because you haven't given them time to absorb the change. You haven't given time to market it and to let them know what's going on. Again, it's the customer experience. The customer doesn't want to be shocked that they're unable to pay with cash when it's time. There are some disadvantages to cash. It could decrease business. You could have some people that only do business in cash. The chances of that happening at a college university campus are extremely low. Most individuals that attend college or that show up on our campuses have bank accounts, they have debit cards, they have credit cards, they have digital payment apps like Cash App, PayPal, things like that. So is it possible that you could have individuals come to campus that are in the percent of population that is unbankable or not banked in the United States? It's possible. In 2019, the Federal Reserve did a survey of banked and unbanked populations in the United States. In 2019, there were 7.1 million US households that did not have a bank account. That equated to about 5.4% of the population. That was in 2019. 8 years before that, in 2011, a similar study was done by the FDIC. And at that time, the unbanked population was 8.2%. So between 2011 and 2018, the unbanked population dropped from 8.2 to 5.4%. The most recent Federal Reserve study on banking and unbanked in the United States was actually put on hold due to COVID. But they will fire that survey back up again here within the next year or so. And so we'll get another look at what the unbanked population is in the United States. And I suspect, I tell you what, I'd put money on it, that 5.4% has decreased even further, just because of the initial scare that COVID put into all of us, that by simply touching surfaces that the virus could be spread. It caused a lot of businesses to stop taking cash. It certainly caused consumers to stop using cash. And I think a perfect example of that is the change shortage that has happened across the United States. It's not really a shortage in change, it's a circulation problem. We used to go to work and come home from work with change in our pockets and drop the change in our cash jars, and then we would cash in those cash jars or spend the change, to go on vacation, to buy the little soft drinks or coffees that we would get during the day. We all worked from home, so that change didn't move around the economy like it normally did, and that caused the shortage circulation problem. So could it decrease business? Potentially. Are there increased privacy concerns when it's no longer a cash society and it's just an electronic society? Sure. Sure, because now the credit card safe, you have identity security concerns, you need to make sure bank account information is kept secure, things like that nature. And so if people are afraid that there could be increased concerns, this may be one of them: privacy. One thing about a cashless society is that technology needs to work all of the time, or else you can't use technology to take a payment. I was in Walmart a month ago. Walked into the door in Walmart to do some shopping, and I was greeted by the greeter at Walmart. And the very first thing that they said to me was, our systems are down and we're unable to take any type of payment unless it's cash. There were 3 other people that had walked into the store with me at the same time. 2 of them turned and left. All right, we'll be back. Myself and the other individual that was with me said, no problem. We happened to have cash in our pockets, and on into the door we went. I did my shopping around the store, took maybe 20 minutes. And I went to check out. And at checkout, they had 3 lanes open, and all 3 lanes were accepting cash. None of the checkout yourself, the self-checkout lanes were working, because those are all card-based payment technologies. They could not even take checks because their check scanning technology is connected to their computers, and it was their computers that were not working. So the only way they could take payment was cash. So there were a number of us standing in these 3 lines waiting to pay with our, old-fashioned cash in our pocket. But something else that surprised me is that there were shoppers who received the same notice that I did, that they could only pay with cash. There were shoppers that had formed a line back near the clothing section. They were just standing there waiting for the technology to come on board. They had their shopping carts, they were done shopping. They were, most all of them were on their phones, texting, playing games, checking emails, looking at the weather, whatever they were doing. And they were standing there waiting for the Walmart technology to come back online so they could make payments. Not the best shopping experience for them, but they were willing to stand there and wait. The rest of us paid with cash, and out the door we went. So technology needs to work 100% of the time. So that's not going to happen. We all know that. So even if you go to a cashless environment, you have to have a backup plan for what to do when that technology goes down. So you still have to have some processes, some written procedures in place, and a little bit of training with your staff so that they know what to do when the technology is not working anymore. There are advantages to a cashless environment, especially advantages for the university, but in the end, there are advantages for the consumer as well. Here's some advantages, and I'll be honest with you, as I did my research on universities that have gone to a cashless environment or a near cashless environment, many of them, as I shared, were advertising and sharing information on their websites so that the university population would know what was happening, when it was happening, and why it was happening. I took these 4 cashless advantages directly off of a website of a university that has gone fully cashless. They made no bones about sharing it. They were telling everyone, here's why we're doing it. It's a greater convenience for the university's financial and accounting operations. It reduced our costs for counting, storing, transporting, and depositing cash. This is an expensive process, just transporting and depositing cash. Tell you a story about 2 police officers in a van. And I'm going to pull my notes out on this one so I don't miss some of the details. True story. A university has two police officers in a van that travels around its university picking up cash. Departments that receive cash, there's a policy on the campus that says that cash has to be deposited on a daily basis. So they're not allowed to keep it on site overnight. So within a 24-hour period. So as cash arrives, these departments, these areas will contact the university police and have them come out and pick up cash. So here's the story, true story. 2 police officers in a van drive 10 minutes across campus to a building where they've been instructed to go pick up a locked bag of cash. It's one of those old-fashioned locked bags, the cloth bags with the heavy zipper that locks down, if you know what I'm talking about, where the department has a key to it and the bank has a key to it, and those are the only ones that can open that locked bag. So they drive 10 minutes across campus to get to the building. 1 officer stays in the van, 1 heads into the building. It's a 5-minute walk for the officer to get to where they had to park to where the building is. Once he gets to where the office is, he has to wait 8 minutes for someone to come and help him, and then for 2 people to go and unlock the safe, dual operation, right? 2 people to go and unlock the safe that houses the locked bag with the cash in it. He retrieves the locked bag. They do their signatures to say that it's been passed off, and he walks 5 minutes back to the van. It's then 10 minutes in traffic to the financial institution where he waits, where 1 officer stays in the van and the other officer gets out of the van, goes into the branch, this is pre-COVID, and waits 10 minutes in line at the bank to be waited on. Once he gets to the teller window, the teller takes a couple of minutes, 2 or 3, to find the key to the bag, unlocks the bag, takes less than 30 seconds to count the cash that's in the bag, gives the officer a receipt for the deposit, and away the officer goes. Now later, the next day, the receipt is delivered to the department. So all of this 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 minutes, whatnot, all adds together for approximately 1 hour of time for 2 police officers to pick up this locked bag of cash. In the locked bag of cash, which I told you took less than 30 seconds to count, was 50 cents. 50 cents. Now, estimating an officer's salary at about $45,000 a year, that comes out to about, if I did my math right, about $25 an hour for 2 police officers. So I'm up to $50 an hour. So 1 hour, all of this running around to pick up 50 cents. So we've spent $50 already to get 50 cents to the bank. It doesn't count the gas, the wear and tear on the vehicle, the insurance allocation for the vehicle itself, or the lost opportunity cost for what those officers could be doing otherwise, right? It also doesn't count how much the bank charged to count that cash and how much it costs for the actual deposit to the bank account. I can assure you, we're well over 50 cents within the first 2 minutes of this entire operation that I've explained to you. So reducing costs for counting, storing, transporting, and depositing cash is a big deal. When that locked cash bag used to carry $5,000 in it, it was the right process. But cash has decreased on your campuses and you know it, but you still have the same processes in place to carry 50 cents that you did when you were carrying $5,000. Take a look at those. These are great places to first look at to reduce where cash is accepted. Reducing cash or cashless advantages helps streamline and makes a business more efficient in its operations. It helps ease reconciliation. If there's reconciliation issues or counting issues, you're more likely to see deposit adjustments for cash deposits than for check deposits. You never see deposit adjustments for, I don't think, or you extremely rarely ever see cash deposit or deposit adjustments for credit card deposits. What gets batched and processed is what gets posted to your account. That's not always the case with cash. And there's always a reduced risk of fraud, theft, and loss when cash is not in play. So as you start looking around your campus to gather data, here's some questions that you should consider. Where are you taking cash? Where is it coming from? Remember, I talked about the ATMs. Who's using cash for purchases? Are these your students? Are they predominantly visitors to your campus? Who's using this cash? Where will removing cash be easy and where will it be challenging? Where does the acceptance of cash add value to the customer? And what other payment options are currently available? These are all very important as you look to gather that data. This is a place, actually all of this in developing your strategy is a place where payment advisory services can help you. We can help you see what's going on in your campuses. We have the payment expertise and the university expertise and years of knowledge and hands-on practice to find the nooks and crannies that cash can hide in. Okay, hit the right button. So once you gather all the data, sorry about that. Once you gather all the data, it's important to be able to tell your story. You have to tell the story. It's not just we have cash in all of these locations. It's about what locations accept cash, which of those locations that accept cash also accept any other payment form. What other payment forms do those locations accept? It's a simple story. We have 52 locations that accept cash. 49 of those 52 also accept credit and debit cards. 10 of those 52 accept campus cards. Know what you have, figure out what's the fact, the truth, and the reality. Don't get hung up on the stories that say every now and then somebody has to do X, Y, or Z. Don't build a strategy around that rare scenario. Make a plan for that scenario, but don't build a strategy around it. Make sure you know your environment. If this is an example of a university, you look at the places where cash is accepted, and I've got different blue and yellow and pink marks here. Pay no attention to the colors necessarily, except know that these are cash locations. A blue location might be where you take the campus card, but predominantly the yellow and the pink are where the cash is. You can see there's a cluster of areas around the campus where there's cash being taken. Oh, and there's more cash as we do some more digging. And here's some campus cards, and here's where coins show up. Then you start looking at your campus and you start finding where these tall blue boxes are. These are where ATM machines are. And again, why is there a cluster of cash being accepted in certain areas or more predominantly used in certain areas than others? Maybe it's because there's ATM machines there. Maybe it's because you have other businesses on campus that are predominantly cash heavy busy and they're encouraging the use of cash. Think about those. As you analyze your strengths and weaknesses, it's important to identify and evaluate what your options are. What other payment solutions might be available to you? What do you have on campus today that you can use today, that you could leverage more today without spending an additional dollar? Where else can the campus card be accepted that it's maybe not being accepted today? Can you make your campus card mobile? Do you have a provider that can give you a mobile campus card solution that allows students to be able to make payments with their campus card through their mobile device? Do you have a nearby bank partner that can provide additional services? Remember I talked about check cashing? If you're still providing a check cashing service and you need to get away from that, can you talk to a local bank provider and ask if they will provide that check cashing service for your constituents? Might be less expensive. They might do it for free. Anytime a customer walks in, anytime an individual walks into a bank that doesn't have an account there, they're going to attempt to open a bank account for them. They're going to try and sell them a bank account. It might be a win-win for both of you. It's most important that you stay true to your organization. Higher education is about the development of new knowledge. It's about the engagement with a society. It's about promoting student achievement. It's about preparing them for a global society. Is having a cash-heavy operations on your campus preparing them for a global society? Are they really going to move from your university out into the world and continue to pay with cash? Or are they going to find a rude awakening when they leave the campus and find out that everything really is more electronic and digital every place else? Why not lead the curve? Why not use this population of students that have grown up with technology to help move your university to that next stage, to a more electronic and digital campus rather than a paper-based cash campus? Right? Identify options and form the strategy. Well, what do you need to make this happen that you don't currently have? What other partners do you need? What other tools and solutions do you need? This is all unique to each one of your campuses. There is no set answer here. It's about understanding what you have, where you want to go, how you want to get there, and what tools you have available to you. Do you need a new or different technology? Do you need to think a little broader? Do you need to step back a little bit? Do you need to go ahead and continue to accept cash in some areas, but eliminate it altogether in others? Is your plan built for growth? If you're going to deploy new machines around campus to help you take cards in a point-to-point environment, for example, have you thought beyond just point-to-point and made sure that those machines also take mobile payments, even if you're not accepting them today? Did you buy the technology that will let you grow into that? Or are you going to have to buy more technology in the future? Look to the future and make decisions for where you want to be. Identify options and form the strategy. List your options, form your strategy. How are you going to go about it? Remember to have SMART goals. Very important to have those SMART goals. Write your plan down. Make sure everyone is aware and on board. Marketing and announcements are key. Don't be the university whose students showed up at a football game this year to find out that they were completely cashless in the stadium. The students and all of the people that showed up in the football stadium had no idea that it was a cashless stadium until they got there. When individuals go to events on your university campus, you want them to remember the experience. You want them to remember the football game, whether it was a win or a loss. You want them to remember if it was a great catch or a touchdown or a bad call. You don't want them to remember how long they stood in line at the concession stand, or that when they stood in line for 20 minutes to get their hot dog, that they couldn't pay because all they had in their pocket was cash and they had no idea that you were cashless. Have an option, have a solution, market it, make sure everyone is aware of it. Be proud about it. Share that information. Now that you've got it, ready, set, go. Put your plan into play. Remember, it's a marathon and not a sprint. Pace yourself. Be ready to adjust. Consider the timing carefully. Again, don't be that university whose attendees at a football game, a basketball game, a soccer match found out when they arrived that they couldn't pay with cash. Tell them in advance. Make sure they know. I don't have children. I have nieces and nephews. When it comes to monitoring, think about when you helped them learn how to ride a bicycle, or when you helped your niece or nephew ride a bicycle. In the early stages, they had training wheels on. You stayed in close contact with them. I mean, extreme close contact. You were holding on to the seat and the handlebars like this father is doing here. Over time, you let go of the handlebar, but you may have held onto the seat. And then eventually the training wheels came off and you let go of the seat and you let the child ride the bicycle down the street. As you monitor the cash and the cashless activities that are going on in your campus and the changes that you want to make, keep an eye on them. Make sure that it's working the way you want it to work. Make sure that you've set them up to succeed, not to fail. Even with a child on a bicycle, once they're riding it on their own, you eventually step out of the street, off of the sidewalk, and you sneak back into your house. And at some point, you're still in your house, but you're still watching them, right? From behind the curtain to make sure that they're safe and that they're doing everything the way you've instructed them to do, that they're having fun and that they're having a great experience. Monitoring your campus and the changes you make around it for a cashless or a less cash environment are no different. It's not a set it and go. You have to keep on it, make sure that it works, and be ready to adjust. Walmart was ready. They still accepted cash. They had a backup plan. Make sure you have that plan. So, is it time for you to join the cashless revolution? Let's talk about it. If you'd like to know more, here's how you can reach me. You can reach our team at Campus Guard and the Payment Advisory Services team, and we'd love to hear more from you. Love to have some additional conversations. And we do have some time left, and I'd like to open it up for any questions that anyone has at this point.
Thanks, Ruth. We have a lot of questions. So
Great.
I am going to start off with the first question that we received, just to be fair. Are you aware of any college or university who went cashless due to COVID and have reverted back to taking cash as things return to normal? Do you think any will?
I have not found any instances of campuses that intend to return to a normal cash operation. I have seen campuses that have reduced cash, and I have seen campuses that have plans to continue their cashless initiatives, but none that say, once COVID is over, we're going back to the way we were. No.
Okay, thank you. Based on your experience, have you seen a hospital who has gone cashless?
That's a great question. I have not seen any. I have read articles online of some hospitals that are looking to go to a cashless environment. That's a great question, though. No. I'm going to make a note. I want to look into it.
Okay,
seems like it's doable.
When technology goes down, what is a backup plan? I know you said cash is the backup plan, but
checks are a backup plan as well. And I say checks, but it's kind of like a 4-letter word. Cash is a 4-letter word. Checks kind of feels like a 4-letter word as well. Find out if your technology allows you to operate in an offline environment where you can capture card information in a secure environment, point-to-point encrypted, but then be able to transmit that data once your technology comes back online.
Thank you. What cashless systems do you recommend for student groups to use for events such as fundraising or one-time events? Which technology?
Right. So remember, I want to provide an unbiased solution or services here. We want to provide unbiased. And so which vended solution might work is hard to say. Student groups love to use digital apps. They're all, and you could name them, I could name them as well. Which one of those works best for the university and meets with the university standards on security and access is worth looking into with each one of these mobile app solutions. One of the coolest things about COVID, and I know that seems crazy to say, but one of the coolest things about COVID is that it accelerated technology in terms of payment acceptance. There is a whole brand new area of accepting payments called Ruth, can't think of it right now. Alyssa, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, it's a solution where a vendor can provide multiple ways for you to accept a payment in one atmosphere. So you could, some of these vendors provide dongles where you could take an image of a check, swipe a card, or even provide an invoicing service for later on. Students want technology. So if you can find a solution that meets the university standards on security and access, that also meets the technology bar for these students, then I think you'll be fine.
You would say it depends.
It depends.
All right, here's another one. Convenience fees seem to be rising on some credit cards. Can you speak to this?
The cost of convenience fees. So from a cashless perspective, do people want to pay with cash rather than with cards because of the convenience fees on cards? Maybe. Do I think you're more likely to see them say, can you just take funds out of my bank account by an ACH debit rather than by credit card because I don't want to pay the fees? I think that is more likely to see. You can look to expand your ACH acceptance abilities on campus depending on your solutions and your vendors in place. Will credit card convenience fees continue to rise? I have no idea. I mean, we all can't expand our debt ceiling like the US government is doing. I can't go down to the bank and say, I've hit my limit, can you increase it? So I don't know what people's, what's gonna happen there. But I can tell you, I don't think those convenience fees are gonna go away. They're very expensive for universities. Credit card fees are.
Okay, I think we still have time for a couple more questions. Have you seen how other schools convert cash disbursements to cashless? Example, petty cash.
Does cash disbursements? Sure. Yeah, some of these are using this. I'm going to get the answer. This type of solution that I'm trying to think of. I'm going to find it. It's going to pop into my head here, where they've had third-party vendors that can help them provide payment disbursement solutions, where again, it enhances the customer experience. Now, it depends on whether the disbursement normally happens in person, or is this a disbursement that can happen virtually, for example. So if you have research subject payments and you need to make a payment to them and you're used to paying your research subjects in cash, and these are face-to-face environments where they do the research and then you pay them in cash, it is going to be a little bit more difficult to find a solution to replace that cash. But there are vended solutions out there where you can direct them to Western Union, and there's another cash place like that that hang out that have shops in Kroger's and grocery stores and Walmart's and some pharmacy stores where you can send them there, and they provide a cash service. So you could direct your consumers there and say, here's where you pick it up. More likely than not, the consumer that has technology available to them and has a smartphone is going to say, can you just send me a text and then I'll choose how I want paid. And they get a text, and that vendor that you're using can provide them with an option of whether they get a direct deposit, whether they get money pushed to their PayPal account, whether it goes to a Venmo account, whether they get a check mailed to them, or whether they get it put on a debit card that they already own. And so there's other options to cash. And again, those unbanked populations are still looking for cash, but it is a continually decreasing population in the United States.
Thank you. And I'm going to take the last question, which is about cryptocurrency, as a chance to plug the next in a series of these presentations by Ruth, which will touch on cryptocurrency. So stay tuned for that one. I'd like to thank Ruth for this wonderful hour of insight into her brain, and like to remind everyone that this is a series. We will be sending out more invites to webinars such as this. Be sure to follow Campus Guard on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alyssa.